And if you wish to have encounters, listen to these things carefully. Number one, to have encounters, you must have the law of burdens at work in your heart. Encounters only happen to those who have burdens. This is why sometimes you search for truth. There are times when I get discharged of all the spiritual burdens I have. I'm looking for meetings. Men who carry words that can impregnate me. And when you come, somebody shoots a burden to you, and suddenly you have desire to help the poor. Suddenly you have desire to sponsor God's agenda. Suddenly you have desire for rulership so that you can help a nation. That burden becomes the channel through which God comes in. Moses had an encounter, but something provoked it. In Exodus 2:11, he said when Moses was come of age, he refused to be called the son of Pharaoh's daughter, choosing rather to suffer affliction with the people of God than the pleasures of Egypt. That burden was what drove him to kill an Egyptian. So when the burden woke up, God woke up. The moment there's a burden in your heart, he sends signal to heaven. Oh my God. And trust me, headquarters will respond. When signal go there, it said the prayers of the saints are sent to heaven as orders. So there are things that leave our heart. They are fragrances in the spirit. The moment you have the burden and you say, Lord, how can I change this country? Whew. Fragrance. Then you see angels that have not been mobilized since the world began. God will now send them. This is the time for Africa. Meanwhile, what activated those angels were the burdens of your heart. And then things begin to move in the heavens. You suddenly discover a place where nobody has been president before. Politics of heaven begins. You know, people think they are doing politics of on earth. Earth is a realm of manipulation. The real politics is in the spirit. That's why our politicians who know what is happening, they don't depart from shrines. But there's a superior realm. It's the presence of Abba. But for you to activate that, there must be a body. Never allow anything discharge burdens from your heart. When you lose burden, you become naked in the spirit. There's nothing for the Holy Ghost to incubate upon. But those who carry burden, heaven is mindful of them. The first law of encounter is the law of burdens. The second law of encounter is the law of hunger and seeking. If you don't seek, you won't find. Spiritual things are too precious. They are only revealed to seekers. They say if you seek, you find. If you knock, the door is open. So those who don't seek find nothing. And when you seek an encounter, you must seek with all your heart. Jeremiah 29 verse 13, he said, when you seek me, you will find me. If you seek me with the whole of your heart. I was teaching here a year ago, and I told you, it's not this thing we do in church when we come, because they sang a song that is emotional, and you wept for 5 minutes. That's not what we are saying here. God knows your propensity. When you wanted to marry, he knew how you sought that woman. When you needed a contract, he knew how you sought that contract. So when you want to seek him, you must surpass what you've done before. That's when encounters happen. If you seek me, you find me. When you seek me with the whole of your heart. Number 3 is the law of the presence. You want to have encounters, you must stand in the presence of God, because that's where encounters happen. Isaiah was in the presence. Isaiah chapter 6 from verse 1. Because there are men who stand there. In 1 Kings 17 verse 1, Elijah said, before God whom I stand, there shall be no rain or dew. If you culture your secret place enough, the shadow of the Almighty will come there. He said, a man who dwells in the secret place of God abides under the shadow. So the presence of God is your secret place. That's where the Shekinah manifests. The presence of God is everywhere, but the consecrated presence is in the secret place where you meet your God. You must build the discipline of the spirit to culture a place where you meet God. Cornelius had it. He built it through prayer and almsgiving. Acts 10 from verse 1. An angel appeared there. So if you want to encounter, you must build a secret place that becomes the shadow of the Almighty. And finally, if you want to encounter, you must serve. Only those who serve have encounters. 1 Samuel chapter 3 verse 1. I'm telling you, this is why our generation no longer have men who know God. Tell somebody to pick paper from the ground. He says 20,000. Meanwhile, in the days of our fathers, when they punish people, they remove them from church activity. They beg for it. But our generation, you call, you pamper, You pay before they do. I know there's a place of having a staff, a body of staff in church. But if everything you do for God, they pay you for it, you are a hireling. You have no place in the corridors of heaven. That's why you can never know God. All you know about God, somebody will tell you. And if you don't know him in time, there's no guarantee that you know him in eternity. So there are people who will only hear about God for a lifetime and for all eternity. But John said that which was from the beginning, which we heard, which we looked upon, and our hands handled. We have handled this thing. It's no longer a story somebody told us, but the pathway to routing it is service. He said in 1 Samuel 3 from verse 1, and he said in those days the child Samuel ministered, that's service, unto the Lord before Eli. He said the word of the Lord was scarce, there were no open vision. But a man who serves in truth, the word can be scarce. From verse 2, 3 and 4, suddenly he was sleeping on the altar when the Ewe lamp was out, and he heard the voice, Samuel. He went to Eli. He took the high priest 3 times to know it was God, because it was long somebody heard God. And if God comes, is it this little boy? It's the one who serves God sees, not the one who is old or young. It's not about age, it's about service. And God spoke to the boy. And Eli said, when next you hear, say, God, Lord, thy servant is listening, speak. And that was how God began a new dispensation with a young boy. No credential, no training, no stature, no ranking, but he had service. He had service. See, every opportunity you have to serve, do it with all your heart. Apart from the fact that it occasions reward, he opens you up to dimensions of God. Encounters. And this is not just I saw God, it changes your life. In verse 20, the word of the Lord appeared to Samuel again in Shiloh. Verse 21 now. In verse 20, none of his words fell to the ground. And he said, from Beersheba to Dan, the whole Israelites knew that Samuel was a prophet. He found this place. He found this place. There is a place God has designed for you, but it will take an encounter to enter there. The guy found this place, but he routed it through service. You want to be reset, you must have encounters. And encounters are not for a few, they are for every one of us. But do you have a burden? Are you a seeker? Do you serve? Those are the precursors of encounters. An encounter is a precursor of spiritual reset. Number 2,